I am joined today by Kate. Hello, Kate.
Hello. Hi, Andy.
Now, I have to share this because the very, very first time I interviewed anybody for a radio station ever was with you.
And I did not realize that at all. So, what a privilege. Do I take any credit for your career
I
with
think so.
Pure
I think so.
24/7 or
Pure 24/7 Radio, sponsored by Kate, inspired
great.
by
Launched it
Kate.
well. Launched it well. Yeah. I'm
Absolutely.
glad.
Now, you work for Care for the Family. We want to get into Christmassy stuff, hence the hat, which isn't just a random thing. Just give us a bit of an overview initially of what is Care for the Family, what do you do, and then we can jump into what we're looking at today.
Sure. Okay. So Care for the Family is a national charity. We're a Christian charity. We were founded about 37 years ago by Rob Parsons. And it's really simple. We believe that family life matters. And we want every family to have somewhere to turn to in the good times and the bad times. So we want to support families in the good times and we want to stand alongside them and support them in the tough times. Help them to put down strong roots so that if and when the storms come, then they'll be able to better navigate them. That's what we do. I work in a team called the community engagement team, and our role is really just to let people know who are working with families about all the fantastic resources we have. So it's my privilege to talk to churches and schools and prisons and charities, anyone who's supporting families. And I just kind of find out what they're doing and see whether we have resources that they may be able to use in their work.
One I need to reference because this is how I got to know of Rob Parsons. I knew of Care for the Family, but somehow hadn't quite connected the two together, which, hey, sorry about that. But it was 60 Minute Father that I found in a high street bookshop, bought it and thought, hey, that looks interesting. I'm about to be a dad. Let's give it a whirl. 60 minutes. I can do 60 minutes. I can read that long. Now I read a lot, but it was such an amazing game changer for me because it was a guy saying, do you know what? I'm struggling with this. This is going okay. And it was that, I suppose, not everything's perfect, which drew me further in and thinking, oh, this isn't one of those books that said, you're all wrong. You're all stupid. Just do this. It'll be great. It was, do you know, here's what I found that works. Why don't you try?
Yeah.
And I love that approach.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's really kind of key to what we do, actually, Andy. It's kind of like standing alongside people
Mm.
in what they're going through, saying, you know what, I've been there too. I've found that hard as well. And you're not alone. We're with you and we'll get through it together. That's what we're all about, really. Yeah.
Walking together. I'll lead with this one because the thing is, if you're walking in a desert on your own, you're going to go in a circle because one leg might be imperceptibly shorter than the other, but you will walk in a circle. But walking with somebody else, now you can go in a straight line.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, a lot of we offer befriending services, for example. That's one of the things we do at Care for the Family. And they're all the befrienders we have are befriending someone who's in the same situation themselves, because it's that same thing. The only person who can truly understand what you're going through is someone who's going through the same, right? So we love to be able to match people up with someone who really understands what's going on and, support them through it.
Which matters because it's very hard to listen to anybody who doesn't actually know what you've been through. I know everybody's
Yeah.
unique and every situation that's the same isn't exactly the same.
Yeah.
However, it's so powerful when we lost our third child to miscarriage and people were loving and kind, but they didn't get the pain until we met somebody who did. It's like, oh, and they were saying the things that we felt, and that was so powerful. That in itself was healing, let alone the fact they cared for us and made us a cup of tea. But it was just they knew, and that means that their pain and our pain are now we're the same. And hey, we can listen to you.
Absolutely. I think that's powerful, isn't it? Just standing alongside people and listening and being present, really.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Christmas is upon us, which is apparent by the hat. I don't wear this in March. I know it's a shock. Maybe we should. It's very warm. I'll be honest. This cheap polyester hat. My head is hot. But Christmas, it can be an amazing opportunity for families to get special time together, and you've got these unique memory building moments. You've got grandparents and uncles and aunts you never see all of a sudden, and it can be brilliant, and it can be not so good. Which is why I thought, well, let's get some wonderful advice from Care for the Family. How can we navigate the good and perhaps the not so good parts well?
Really good questions. I mean, $1 million questions, aren't they, really? Like, how do we make Christmas good for everyone? But I think like you've just said it all. I mean, basically we have really high expectations about Christmas, don't we? We all want like a perfect Christmas and it has to look like what we see on social media and we want it to be fun and laughter and warm, fuzzy feelings all the time. But actually, reality is often not like that, is it? For whatever reason. I mean, just like you say, coming together with people you don't see very often and you have to try and reconnect with them. So where are those connection points? You may be going through, difficulties or pressures for whatever reason. So it might just be that you're struggling with something. It could be, there are relationship pressures. It could be you've lost someone that you love recently. It could be financial pressures. Could be all sorts of things, couldn't it? Could be you're separated actually by distance. Could be that you can't be together at Christmas, and that's really hard, as hard as being all together. Could be maybe you have children with additional needs, and Christmas can be a stressful time. So all sorts of reasons why it might be hard. And I think it's really important, isn't it? One thing is just to kind of really be realistic in the expectations that we set and recognize, you know what, we don't need to go for perfect. It's really about just trying to enjoy some time together, making those memories that you mentioned, having little bits of quality time, but not overloading yourself with so many things to do and perfect making things that you put so much pressure on yourself. I think also it's really good if we can just stop every now and then, isn't it? Just to remember what it's all about and who
Yeah.
it's all about. So we can get so easily just get caught up in all the things we have to buy, all the things we have to do, all the things we have to send. And actually, it's really, really good just to every now and again, just come back to maybe a key verse or something in the Bible. Like at Care for the Family, we've been talking a lot about that lovely verse in John 1 about how the light shines in the darkness and the darkness has not overcome it. And, maybe, everyone will have their kind of favorite verse for Christmas time, won't they? But just maybe coming back to that every now and then and just taking a moment just to think, what's it really all about? And actually, does the other stuff, how much does it really matter? You want to make it nice, of course you do, but it doesn't matter if it's not perfect. So yeah, those are just some initial thoughts, I think, and not feeling you have to do everything with everyone all the time, right? Like it's okay to say no to certain things. If you have an instinct and you think, okay, that's really not going to work, or actually that's just too many people or too much. Maybe you're thinking, actually, I don't know if I can really have everyone to Christmas dinner for all sorts of reasons. Maybe because you're worried about, the mother-in-law's not going to get on with such and such a person, or you're thinking we haven't seen each other for so long, or actually I just can't afford to cook Christmas dinner for so many people. It's okay to just manage those things and setting some boundaries for yourself and saying what you're comfortable with and not what you're not comfortable with. Just setting that out in advance. So it can also be really helpful, I think, to have some conversations with people beforehand, just so you can be clear with yourself and with others what's going to work for you and what's not going to work for you, but resisting the pressure to do it all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it really does. It's being intentional. But one of the sort of images in my mind was when it gets to Christmas, obviously there is a possibility that you have more people in your home than normal. If there's just the four of
Yes.
you, five of you, that's your normal day in, day out. That's fine. When another 10 people come in, there's less room for you physically to
Yeah.
be. That's obvious
Yeah.
one. But with the physical less room, there's emotional, mental less room.
Yeah.
So perhaps you're really good at rolling with resistance. You one of your children's just winding you up the wrong way. So, you look at your wife. I'm just going to go and have a moment. And that's fine. That's how you deal with it. And if you've got 10 people staring at you, now all of a sudden you feel like you're not allowed to leave the room. So instead of being able to just extract yourself, just to have that moment of hush and pause, now you're feeling more physically trapped, therefore mentally trapped, which is why having those expectations and being realistic, which is what I think one of the things you're saying that I really am drawing into, is so important. So we don't think, yeah, let's have 1,000 people in our little 2-bed detached house. It's not going to work. Okay, let's maybe have 5. maybe we have six. There are things we can do to manage what we want to do without overloading ourselves.
Yeah, I think also it's just giving a little bit of time before any big gathering to just think it through for yourself in
Yeah.
advance. Like, what are the watch points? What are the things? What are the tensions that can come up that maybe you've experienced in the past?
Mhm.
What are the things that have been challenging in the past? What are the things about previous get-togethers that you've really enjoyed that you want to make sure you do build in? What are the things that could help you reconnect? So, if you haven't seen each other for a long time, or there's, maybe you see everyone, but some people in the group don't see each other, right? So they need to reconnect. So thinking about, I mean, I was thinking this year, we've got a bit of a get together going on before Christmas, and I want to get some really simple kind of games that we can play at the table. Yeah. So just simple stuff like charades, or that one where you have to decide who you are, and you write down a name
Yes.
on a post-it note, and then everyone kind of passes it on and sticks it on their forehead, and you have to answer questions to figure out who you are. Simple things like that. So that doesn't cost anything. It's literally like write a name down on a piece of paper and stick it on your forehead. But they're great icebreakers, and they're great things for just facilitating some kind of light-hearted conversations at the table so that people have something to talk about. And then once everyone kind of relaxes a little bit and gets to know each other again, then the conversation tends to flow more naturally, I think. But sometimes you need just a little tip or a trick just to get it started, I think. I think the other thing that can be a bit tricky when you all get together is things around presents, and kind of expectations and differences. Maybe if there's a big group of you, about what you're actually going to give each other and how much you're going to spend. And again, I think it can be good to just think in advance and maybe even talk to people before they arrive. What are the expectations around that? Like, how many presents are you going to get each other? I mean, we're going to spend Christmas with another family this year. And so we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago just to clarify, like, are we going to give each other? Is it just going to be we're buying presents for the kids, or are we all going to give each other presents? And how are we going to do that? Are we just going to do kind of one present each so that everyone gets something? Or, you know what I mean? So it's really helpful just to have that conversation beforehand so that it doesn't turn out to be embarrassing in a way if one family really goes for it and the other one is a bit more restrained. And that could be kind of a funny thing to have to navigate on the day, couldn't it? Whereas if you've set it out beforehand, then everyone's a bit more, in the know about what's going to come and what's expected, I think.
One of the things I wrote down, I make notes as I speak to people. I wrote the word no in a box and put a happy face next to it because being able to say, no, we can't do that actually can be good. One of the things that as a family we wanted to do was we wanted to be honest. If someone's having a bad day, then there are no fake smiles. We've never ever had that as a family because it's something we grew up with. Right? Everybody has to be nice. You have to smile. Everybody is going to get on. Is
Yeah.
never going to work. And it just creates bitterness under the surface, which always erupted on Christmas Day. And there's me and Joe with the families and thinking, can we go home yet? Because I don't like this atmosphere. But we've always been honest. If you're having a bad day, have a bad day. That's okay.
Yeah.
Christmas Day is not the one day of the year when you need to smile when you're broken inside. Actually, it's the one day of the year to say, I'm not coping very well. Which is why I wrote the word no down in a box with a happy face next to it. Because saying no is so powerful.
Yeah, I think it is a powerful word, and it can be really freeing as well. If we can say no, like, it can take a lot of pressure off us, off our shoulders, if we're able to say no, I can't do that actually. And then that releases you to be able to do what you think you can do,
Yeah.
as opposed to trying to be what you think everyone expects you to be.
Yes.
I think also, I mean, it is important to recognize, like you've said, that emotions can be running high at
Mm.
Christmas because we're all kind of, so busy and we get tired, and it is emotionally charged, isn't it, Christmas? So it's good to just recognize that and just be very conscious of your own emotions and also other people's, and
Mm.
not wanting to follow down the route of anything that's going to escalate those emotions and make them, higher and maybe spark them off. So just practicing, almost recognizing how it feels when you're starting to feel a little bit stressed
Yeah.
or a little bit like things are about to potentially blow up. So how does that feel in your body? You know, is it that you feel like your heart is starting to beat faster? Is it that you feel your cheeks are starting to flush? Just practice recognizing those signs
Yeah.
so that you can kind of nip it in the bud and just say, actually, I think I just need to take a really deep breath now, you know, and that will just settle me and stop me going off. But just being aware of that and being aware of who's in the room. I think what you said was really important about it's, you know, maybe you're struggling, maybe there's mental health issues, maybe you've lost someone, you're bereaved, and you're actually not feeling Christmassy at all. And it's really hard. And there's pressure to be happy, happy, happy all the time. I think it's really important to say it's okay to be sad at
Yeah.
Christmas. Last Christmas for us was the first Christmas without our mum, and that was really hard. And we said to each other beforehand, you know, this is going to be hard, and actually, it's okay to be sad. But equally, we also said it's also okay to smile and have fun, even though she's not there.
Yeah.
So it was like, we don't need to feel like we all need to be, we are sad, but we don't need to be sad all the time. We can still smile and try in as much as we can to have a nice time and to remember the good times and to make memories for the future. But it's okay not to just be having a great time all the time. So just thinking who's in the room, who are the people I'm in touch with at Christmas, and actually what are they going through? There could be all sorts of reasons why they're
Yeah.
not doing quite as well. And it might be really hard to put on an act and be merry and jolly all the time.
Which I think is really summing up everything you've said. That depending on where we are, what situation is it, a family gathering, is it a friends gathering? Have we decided to get some folk from work, which can be brilliant or terrible? It just depends on your situation. Each one of those we need to navigate, but we need to think it out and not just say, "Oh, it'll be fine," because
Yeah.
maybe it will for you, but maybe for the person who's doing all the creating of the food part, maybe this is something they're not fine with, and actually it is being, I suppose, sensitive to other people so that everybody gets an opportunity to be joyful or actually sad.
Yeah, absolutely. That everyone just can do it in the way that's right for them. And yeah, I mean, I know I tend, you know, we really want everyone to be happy and have a good time, especially if we're like, you know, if we've organized the gathering or we're kind of see ourselves as the like, main person or whatever. There's, you know, you want everyone to be
Yeah,
happy, don't you?
yeah,
Even
yeah,
if they're sad. But yeah, just trying to rein it in a little bit and just think it through. I think that's right, Andy. Like thinking through every little get together with people, no matter how many people are there, who's coming, where are they at, what's going on for them, what are the watch points. You know, not that you want to overthink it. I have to admit, I'm a bit of an overthinker, but it is good to just think in advance. It's good to think a bit about it in advance and what might come up and how might you handle it. And yeah, if you know, whatever is going on for people, what might be helpful for them? Who are the children? If there are children coming, you know, what stage are they at? You know, unrealistic necessarily to expect your teenagers to be, you know, in full conversation if that's not their normal mode. You know, maybe they are great conversationalists, maybe they're more one word monosyllabic phase, you know, so recognizing, you know, unrealistic for them to suddenly morph into the perfectly, you know, conversation person for your Christmas dinner table, accepting people as they are, isn't it,
yeah,
really? I think accepting people as they are. And little kids, you know, again, being realistic, you know, are they, if they're missing nap times because of something, then they're going to be tired at a certain point and they might kick off, right?
yep.
Or actually, they may not fully appreciate the really expensive big present that we gave them because they're more interested in the box that it came in, you know, and so, and not, but not being upset by that. It's just how it is, isn't it? So
Yeah.
just taking things a little bit more like, you know, seeing where everyone's at and what stage they're at and what's realistic to expect from people, I think.
Let's just take a slightly different angle on this as well, because of course at Christmas there's every possibility. Maybe there's a nativity play at the local school, might be a carol concert at your local church. Events when we then go out of our family surroundings, we're out in public, if you like, literally. So how can we navigate those better, especially because this is one that always got to me when I was working in children's ministry. You get to Sunday morning, Christmas Day at church, right? Bring your presents to the front. Now, as a family, there were quite a few years when we didn't have presents to bring to the front, and we avoided those church services because we thought it's too hard for us as parents, thinking, but we can't engage in that. So we weren't engaged in the church service at all. And, you know, as a family, we love going to church. But for us, sometimes it's like, we're going to not go to church today because it's too painful. When they do that question, we can't go. Our kids have got nothing because we've got nothing as a family. So how can we navigate those well as, I guess, as people? And then from the sort of secondary point of view, how can churches do well to engage families?
Gosh, good questions. I guess first off, maybe controversial, but you don't have to go, do you? You don't have
Nope.
to go. Again, that can be, I think, can be like a stress point if in the busyness of Christmas, maybe the services you go to aren't the ones on Christmas Day, but the ones around Christmas. Because if you try and go on Christmas Day, it can just put too much pressure on the day and you can't fit everything in. If you've also got to go to church and cook turkey and etc., etc., etc. But yeah, I wonder, I mean, if it is the kind of service where, you've got to take something along and show off your present, I mean, it's worth thinking about what could you take? Again, preempting it a bit, isn't
Mm.
it? Because I think so many presents, they don't have to be big and expensive, do they? I mean, there's things I would, love to talk about how we can also, not make it so commercial and think about what we can do buy or, get that's secondhand or handmade or that you can reuse, that kind of thing. So, if you could take something along, maybe it's some, I don't know, some cookies that you bake together, which is a really lovely thing to do at Christmas, or maybe there's a lovely picture that someone's drawn in the year, which you've like created a frame for, and that's a gift, So it's thinking about what could I take along? Because the kids want to take along something, don't they? They want to join in with
Mm.
this and they want to have something to take, even if it's not the big super duper latest model present that someone else might take. But thinking, well, what could they bring? How can they join in
Mm.
by having something with them? Which doesn't have to be something that costs a lot in monetary terms, but maybe it's something that is a thoughtful little something that's special to them so that they can still join in with stuff. Um, yeah, that's what I would say for joining in then. And I'm sorry, I can't quite remember what your second question was, having
Uh,
just talked that.
No, it's fine. I was thinking about how we can approach going to church activities, perhaps the
Yeah,
nativity play or the choir concert stuff, but also how can churches help us
how can
better
churches
engage?
help?
And
Yeah.
I'll since you asked the question, I remember once we went to a church when I was a little kid. I was very young, and we had that part in the service bring stuff forwards, but the guy flipped it and he said, "Right, all the children, I don't want you to bring anything, just bring yourselves." To the front, and the church had bought really like cheap little cars, or I think he owned like a pharmacy range, so he had like stuff that girls might like, stuff that boys would like. And he's like, come and get a present. And at the end of his little talk, every child brought something back to the family from the front. And I remember looking back at the time, even I was like probably 8 or 9, thinking, "Wow, this is cool. I've come to
Mm.
church and I've got a present. This gets good. This."
Yeah, that's lovely. I mean, one of the things in our church that we really love is whenever we have a family service, we love to get the kids doing some kind of crafting type activity where they would make something probably at the beginning of the service,
Hmm.
which works really well. So they'll come in, they'll sit down, they'll do a bit of little craft and making something that they then take away with them. So again, they would have come to church, but they leave with something that they didn't arrive with because they've made something, whether that's like a Christingle or some other like a Christmas decoration. Yesterday, the kids were making Christmas decorations that they could then take with them and put on their tree at home, or that kind of thing. So I guess it's how can the church facilitate for the kids to actually get something from the service rather than have to bring something to it, isn't it? If you've got the ability to do that, it's quite nice, isn't it? Or giving them like a little Christmas storybook or something. You know, some churches I know buy the little Christmas storybooks, and then give them to
Yeah.
families when they leave as well, which is really lovely, I think.
I might pick up the wrong car. However, on my desk in front of me, I've got a little special things. One of which, if I hold this, is a little car. Okay, I think this was about £1. And one of the years, as a family, we thought we haven't got a lot of money. What are we going to do? So we bought each other. There's 5 of us. We had a few quid. We're going to buy each other one little car for the other 4. We'll choose it, and that's what we did. And you know, those cars I see on desk, and they're really special. We had almost nothing that year, but you know what? I've still got on my desk the memory of my family saying, you know, we're going to think about what we're going to get you. We had a budget of like £1.50 each or something. That was it, and that is so precious because it's not the car that's precious; it's the memory behind it.
Yeah, it's the thought, isn't it? And that's the thing about all special gifts. It's a thought behind it rather than the actual value of it, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like we love thinking about what we can kind of do at home that we can give away. I mean, for example, we always have like a little Christmas baking tradition. So my kids, you know, they always look forward to, you know, oh, when are we going to make our Christmas biscuits? You know, and we have like a particular recipe that we love to do, and then we have the cutters for those shapes. So, you know, they have a star cutter, and then we will ice them, and you know, we'll hang some of them on the tree and just eat the rest. But you know, these little traditions, making those things, or I really also love to give photos as gifts because you know these
Mm.
days we take so many photos, don't we? But they're all like on our phones, and then we don't even look at them. But actually, really, really lovely just to take some time to just print out a few. And then you can, you know, you can make a simple frame or you can buy a simple frame, but giving a photo is, I think, such a special thing because it's like capturing a moment, isn't it? And that doesn't have to cost a lot either. A few years ago, I found the perfect gift, actually, I think, really, because I found a tray where it had cutouts under the glass base for photos. And so I printed out some special photos from the year and put them into the tray so they appear in the base of the tray. If
Yeah.
I don't know if you can visualize that. Anyway, so that was a lovely gift in itself. But then the beauty of it was that I started it 20 years ago. And now our Christmas tradition is every year for my parents, I will print out a new little set of photos, highlights from the year, if you like, of moments we've had together. And I'll take the tray back, I'll give it its kind of MOT, clean it
Oh,
up,
nice.
service it, change the photos, and then we'll have like a new tray for the new year. And actually, that is, I mean, I think it's their favorite gift. You know, they're always looking forward to the new tray. And it's really special. But you know, that's a tray. I bought it 20 years ago. It's the same tray. I just have to print out a few more photos every year. And it's really lovely. It's really special, like you say. Like they have it on the side, they use it for tea every day. It's just really nice. So it's exactly what you said, Andy, of just like a little thing that, you know, it means so much more than what it actually is in itself. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. All that kind of stuff is really good, I think.
But I mean, that's a tradition that you've created. You've perpetuated that. It's alive, and as you say, it's a few printouts. It's
Mm.
as monies go, that's pence. Um,
Yeah.
but it's the expectation of, oh, what's going to be behind the pictures this year? What we're going to see. But every
Yeah.
single one of those is so much more powerful than just a bit of paper with some random ink on it. This is
Yeah.
actually a memory that's going to trigger joy for the rest of the year. It doesn't get much better.
Yeah, no, it's really nice, isn't it? And I think, but also we've got the other end of the spectrum, haven't we? Where people are kind of hoping for really expensive gifts, and maybe kids, you know, have come up with, you know, they need all the latest gadgets, and they'll present you with their Christmas list, and you're thinking, crikey, I don't know, you know, how we can afford any of these, let alone some of them. And then it's really important, isn't it, to manage expectations because we don't want them to be disappointed, but at the same time, they need to understand that we can't necessarily get them the things that they want.
Mm.
One of my girls loves to always send, whether it's birthday or Christmas, like a list of her wish list. and there'll be like a link to all the things. And sometimes you go through it all and you go, oh my goodness, crikey, this is a lot of things. And you have to think, well, actually, is it realistic to get all these things? And I think it's good to talk about it with them and say, look, love your list. It's really helpful, but I'd love to understand, which are the things that are really important to you and which are the ones that maybe you wouldn't be too upset if you didn't get. And actually, are there any alternatives for some of the things, that might be a little bit more economical or whatever? So it's good to also just, again, manage those expectations and talk about it. I think talking about it is quite important, isn't it? Just to make sure everyone's on the same page and make sure that everyone's happy and comes out with something that they're happy with.
I guess an issue is we don't want that hard conversation. Sorry, in-laws are going to get picked on now. We don't want that hard conversation with the mother-in-law who's going to come and wants to do this and wants to do that. Just an example. But actually, rather than saying, well, we don't want that conversation, so we won't have it, and then it happens, and every year it's the same stress, and everyone's get angry. Oh, why are we doing this? But if you'd have that chat and said, look, this happened last year, and we need to talk about this. Whether you want to, we need to talk about it. Write them a letter. I mean, put it in. If you can't have the conversation, put it in a letter. But actually say, look, this is what happened. This is how it made us feel, and we really want everyone to have some joy and not have that flashpoint that now everyone's anticipating with anxiety. We need to find a better way. And sometimes just say, how can we do this bit differently? Don't just say you're stupid. Again, don't be rude. Don't that person. Say how you felt and say, look, how can we do this so that you get to do something you feel is important for you, but that everybody can be included in such a way that doesn't make us all think, here we go again, because we want to avoid that.
Definitely. Yeah, I think we definitely want to avoid that. And I think you're right. Sometimes our tendency is to kind of brush things under the carpet or not talk about them. But actually, it is much better to be able to just have a open conversation about something simple, open, just say what you're thinking. And then everyone's actually glad that you've brought it up. Sometimes we
Yeah.
have to be the brave one and bring it up, and we think, oh, it's going to be really awkward. But actually, it's the best thing you can do is
Yeah.
to address it head on. And it doesn't have to be emotional, just keep to the facts. This is what happened. This is what I was thinking about. How would you feel if, and just keeping it very simple, but having the conversation is really helpful, I think, isn't it?
Having a conversation. I've written a few things down. Intentional, being realistic, actually having those difficult conversations before the day, not the day before
Yeah.
or the morning of. A month before, a week before. Where were we? Sort of middle of December. You've still got time if it's a Christmas Day issue. Just have that phone call and just say, look, let's have a chat. Let's have a coffee. Let's have a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Care for the family. Let's come back to that. What resources have you got at the moment that people can actually access to help them navigate the Christmas and New Year's season well?
Well, we've got a really lovely kind of Advent Christmas campaign on our social media. So we're on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and on all those different channels. If you follow Care for the Family, you'll find we're posting lots of kind of tips about how to navigate Christmas well. So I'd really encourage listeners to check us out and follow that. We'll talk about, how you can navigate Christmas because we talk about things, we do bereavement and relationships and parenting. So we'll talk about how, parents with children with additional needs might want to think about things. We'll talk about, single parents. What are the things to think about? What if you're in a blended family? What if you've lost someone recently? What if you're separated? What if you are struggling financially? So do check out the social media because there's a lot of great tips on there for how you can think through these things as we've just been talking about. In general, I mean, Care for the Family offers support for parents, for couples, and for those who are bereaved. And we have all sorts of resources. So the website, cff.org.uk, is a great place just to have a little look on. You can look at the parent support pages or the bereavement support pages or the couple support pages and just tap into the resources we have. We've got podcasts, we've got books, we've got courses, we've got befriending networks. The social media is really good. We have our event tours that go around the country as well. So they'll be kicking off again in the spring. But there's lots to access there. We've got a fantastic new marriage podcast called Couple Goals, which if people haven't listened to that yet, it's really fantastic. We sit down with a different couple each week and talk about, the joys and challenges of being in a relationship. So that's a really, really good one. And yeah, all sorts of stuff for people to tap into. We also have a really beautiful book that we've produced for Christmas called Season of Wonder. And Season of Wonder was written by Diane Parsons. Diane is Rob's wife. And it's a really beautiful book of reflections on Christmas and the Christmas season. And it's something that we're actually giving away to those who give us a gift this Christmas time, this winter, because I mean we have amazing supporters that care for the family, and they're the reason we can do any of what we do. And every twice a year I think we appeal to them to see if they would like to support us, and we've got this beautiful book which people can have a look at if they want to and see what it is. But it looks like a gorgeous resource to have on the coffee table at Christmas, and that's a little thank you present for anyone who makes us a gift at this time as well.
I guess from all that we've chatted about, the one thing that I would say is it's very apparent that Care for the Family is there to walk alongside you in so many different potential scenarios, from marriage to bereavement, which is its own struggle. Whether you've got children, there are so many resources. Go to the website and find something, because there's going to be something there that can help you walk and navigate life better.
Yes, I think so. I mean, that's it. We want, families are unique. Like all families are different. Families come in so many different shapes and sizes and forms, don't they? So we really want to, walk alongside all families, any family, however the family looks like. There's always joys, always challenges, aren't there? That's like the roller coaster of family life. It's ups and downs and twists and turns and, things you're not expecting sometimes. So yeah, we want to be there for families and be there for any family who needs support. We also have a really fantastic listening, signposting support service called Careline, which is really for anyone, any adult, I would say, any adult who is just going through a tough time in their family life. And they can ring us up on our mainline number, and which is on the website cff.org.uk. And that's a really good space for people who just need a listening ear and a little bit of support. That's Careline.
Kate, thank you. It's always a privilege to chat with you, to have a think about how we can do Christmas. And hopefully through this conversation, people have got some, even if they've just got one little nugget of, oh, that's a good game, that, or that's a good strategy, that is, or hadn't thought about doing this. That's my heart and passion for doing these, because Christmas is such an amazing time as we remember that Jesus was born, some 2,000 years ago, and there's so many pressures around and so many wonderfully unique, beautiful moments that can get washed aside because we just don't want to plan or think about the fact that auntie's coming and she's going to be really difficult, and let's deal with that. But actually, like you said, it can be liberating for that person to say, look, this happens, let's have a chat. And if you're struggling, you've got Careline. You've from Care for the Family, you've got so many resources. But actually, if someone can get an idea from this chat, we've won.
Absolutely. Completely agree, Andy. Yeah, always a pleasure to talk to you as well. And I hope as well that someone can find something helpful here.
Just give us the website one more time for people who can come and check out the resources from Care for the Family.
Yeah. So Care for the Family is at cff.org.uk. And we're on all the social media channels as well.
Kate, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
The December edition of Pure Media, the magazine, has been tinkered with by the elves, and it might even arrive with a team of reindeers, but only if you're quick enough. Talia Dean sits down with Andy B, that'll be me, to talk about her life, her faith, and latest song released ahead of Christmas, and all on purpose. We talk with Ems Hancock and her passion to help others. She really is such a good listener. She speaks of her faith and a very dramatic beginning to that. If you want some Christmas cheer that really will last longer than your New Year's resolutions, you know what to do. Just visit www.puremediathemagazine.com. With no AI, this magazine is made by real people for real people. And don't forget, it makes a rather good Christmas present too. Just saying, we're always on point and in print at puremediathemagazine.com.